So I just got a package in the mail. This is Infidel, which is the second title in Richard Berg's Men of Iron series. And I've got the other, there's been 4 titles total now. Infidel was the one that came out second after the original Men of Iron, followed by Blood and Roses and Arquebus. This was one that I never got, and I probably, back when I first got into wargaming, I got Men of Iron pretty early on in my collecting, and probably had the opportunity to get Infidel while it was still in print, but didn't do so, and it fairly quickly went out of print and got expensive. I finally had some circumstances that let me indulge purchasing a copy. This copy happens to be in shrink, so that's why I thought I'd do an unboxing. I don't usually do unboxings of newer games, mostly because there's usually plenty of video of people doing those unboxings. I like to do unboxings of unpunched copies of older collectible titles, something that nobody's ever really captured the unpunched contents of those older games on film. But this one was kind of cool just because it was in shrink, and it's one that I had been looking for a while, and it completes a collection, which is good. My series acquisition syndrome tends to rear its ugly head pretty frequently, and this is one that I won't have to worry about anymore. So let's rip the shrink off and take a look inside. The Men of Iron series or system, and it deals with battles from a pretty wide range of eras and combat styles, so calling it a particular system is almost a misnomer. But it is, the nice thing about it is that it is fairly light. It is not a heavy system. It's certainly nowhere near the level of complexity and or fiddliness that something like the Great Battles of History series has, which is also a Berg design. This is very fast playing, very easy to learn, fairly short rules, and all fairly small tactical battles. There are some larger ones. I'm thinking in particular of Towton in Blood and Roses, or Toten or Towton, I don't know. Somebody British probably knows the correct pronunciation for that. That one was pretty huge, and there, not a lot of room for maneuver. You've just got these two armies that essentially grind into each other. Infidel is different from the other 3 in that there's this large focus on cavalry. You've got the teeming hordes of Islamic troops attacking some heavily armored knights during the Crusades. So, and this one, if you look at the artwork on the cover, pretty cool cover, I think. This is sort of the theme that Roger McGowan went with for Men of Iron. The original is very much, that older style of McGowan artwork, but where he's used, he's infused color and then black and white in the same image, and you can tell it's a hand drawn. I forget what you call that. There's a term for this type of particular type of artwork, and it's eluding me at the moment. But this was where he did start doing, and this was 2005. Yeah, he started using single images more than the like collage image style, and so this has a single image on the cover, but looks a little more like his older artwork in terms of style. For this, he's gone to the period representation single piece of artwork, and kind of carried that over a little bit with Blood and Roses. Again, a single image, although a little more, the image isn't quite so dominant on the front of the box. And then for Arquebus, the same thing. And the recurring thing is this little scroll game design, Richard H. Berg, which is on the cover of all of them. But these are all like single image covers, none of the collage style stuff that you might see like on the cover of the old Musket and Pike covers, for example. So anyway, cool artwork on the cover. On the back, it's going to be a typical GMT. Back of the box, some counter samples, map sample, a little grid here that shows all of your components and complexity and so forth and so on. A list of the battles. Pop the lid off. The classic GMT. We want to make you a gaming fanatic. Sincerely, Josh. It's usually somebody different every time. Sometimes it's the same people. Rulebook. Nowadays, for an arquebus, for example, it's full color and glossy. This is still back in the black and white, and not particularly heavy stock. This feels like early aughts type stock for GMT, frankly. Extended sequence of play on the back there. 16 pages of rules, so it's nice. It's a good simple system. Here is your flight point track. This is a common feature in all of the Men of Iron series games. In fact, it's got a little logo now, Men of Iron Volume 2. So that's a common thing. Here we've got a player aid card, full color, very nice. Little stock feels a little thin compared to some of their more recent releases. So as GMT has kind of expanded their sales and increased their sales, they have tended to improve their component quality, which has always been good, but now it's like great. Except when they do glossy color rules. I prefer the flat, matte finish color rules, the kind of thing that they do in the Coin series, for example. Full color rule book, but not on glossy paper. Like most Men of Iron games, all of the different battles have their own terrain charts. Here's the second, same thing here. So you got two identical player aid charts, always nice. Counter sheets, counter sheet 1. And all the Men of Iron counters look very similar, similar artwork. And this is Counter Arc Mike Lemick, I guess that's how you pronounce his name. It's also got Charles Kibler in there. I think he does the maps, maybe. No, I guess it's got list them all doing counter art. So I don't know who does what exactly, but between the games, the counters all look the same. All the markers and stuff are the same, and the counter artwork is similarly the same. Bags and dice, typical GMT feature. Second counter sheet, and not a counter-intensive game. And not, a ton of information that you have to deal with on these counters. The combat strengths and movement and all that stuff are all fairly straightforward. And then here we go. There's a battle book here, which also black and white. Fairly thin terrain. And there's a lot of battles in this. Like the first Men of Iron didn't have, I want to say it had maybe 4 or 5 battles in it. Just looking at the cover. Let's see, Falkirk, Courtrai, Bannockburn, Cressy, Poitiers, and Nogera. Well, 6 battles. For some reason I was thinking the original game didn't have as many battles, and they've steadily increased the number of battles in each game. But I guess, 6, 7 battles per game. Is fairly average. I know Arquebus has like a ton. It has more than that even. And so there's your setup charts, and they have a little map, usually to show the setup, which is always nice. It would be nicer if it was larger and in color. Later games did that. But I always like the battle books in this are always good. The historical background stuff is always good. The games are well assembled, probably because they have a very good developer, a guy named Ralph Shelton. He knows what he's doing. Here are the maps, and these are probably variously back printed. And as you might expect for this era in the Middle East, look at that. Not a whole lot of terrain to be seen. These almost look like, in fact, the Battle of Heron here and And Montgassard used the same terrain, a little river running through there. But otherwise, these almost look like Ancients maps. I mean, in terms of what you're actually getting in terms of terrain. Yeah, here's a double one. So you've got Ascalon, you've got a little more there. You've got a camp and a city there, and then Antioch. More wide open plain. You need the wide open plains so your cavalry can run all over the place. And there's Arsuf. That one's actually up against the Mediterranean on the coast. So a little more terrain involved there, but still, most of your action's going to happen on this featureless plain here in the middle. So another typically high quality package from GMT. Glad I finally got this one in pristine shape to complete the fairly classic Men of Iron series. So thanks for watching.